third years, I'm going to show you how to make dough balls, and this is going to use the butter that you also made in school as part of your practical. You have already made bread in year 2, but this is a recap of how to make the dough itself. In my bowl I've got strong or bread flour, that's very important to use, and I'm also going to add the salt to add flavouring to the dough. I'm just going to mix that in so it's incorporated. The liquid part of the dough balls is going to be the warm water. It must not be too hot or too cold, or it will not activate or kill the yeast that we're going to add. And to test whether or not it is at the right temperature, fill the measuring jug with 150 ml of warm water, and just with your clean finger just feel that that water is sufficiently warm. In order to activate the yeast, and we're using dried yeast, I'm going to put that into the water along with the sugar, which is going to act as the food for the yeast. And we're just going to mix that until it starts to ferment. And you'll see after about 10 minutes through warm conditions, you'll start getting bubbles, and that will be absolutely fine. So after 10 minutes and the yeast has started to ferment, I'm going to take a round-bladed knife and I'm going to make a well in the flour, and this is going to help incorporate the liquid. So I'm going to pour that in, and I'm also going to add a tablespoon of vegetable oil, and that's just going to help make the dough moist and soft. And I'm now going to gently bring the dough and the flour into a soft consistency. Strong flour is very important with bread making, because you want the gluten that is being developed in the flour to form the risen structure of the bread dough. When you're about 3/4 of the way through with mixing, just scrape any mixture off your knife, and with a clean hand start to bring any dry ingredients together into a nice soft dough. You should find that it leaves the bowl nice and clean, and the dough shouldn't be tacky or wet or sticky, because you will find then it's a lot easier to knead. If you've got any crumbs at the bottom of the bowl, just add a little drop more liquid, just a little, just to bring all those crumbs together. I'm now going to knead the dough, and I'm just going to add a little flour onto my worktop, and I'm going to knead that dough for about 10 minutes, and that's going to help stretch the gluten that you are now developing in the flour in the dough, so it's nice, soft, smooth and elastic. So this dough has now been kneaded for about 10 minutes. You will find it's lovely, smooth and stretchy. If you take the dough and pull, alright, you should find that it will stretch quite far. Because we're making dough balls, we now need to divide the dough into about 12 to 15 pieces. So divide the dough into half and into quarters, and then just take a small amount from each part, roll it between your palms into a ball shape, and place that. I'm going to use today a foil dish. I'm just going to put the dough balls into the dish. You can also use the baking tray if you wish. That would be absolutely fine. Having Having made sure that the dough balls are of an equal size and shape, I've left a slight gap between each one because as the dough balls start to rise through proving, they will all almost double in size. I'm going to cover these with a piece of plastic film wrap, and I'm going to leave these somewhere warm on top of the oven for about 15-20 minutes, just to let those prove before they go in the oven for baking. Having left the dough balls now to prove, these are now going to go into a preheated oven, 200 degrees C, until they're nicely golden brown and risen. So after 10 minutes, take them out of the oven carefully with oven gloves and with your melted butter, as I said, as you made in school previously, or some fresh butter. Take a pastry brush, melt the butter carefully in a microwave for about 30 seconds until all melted, and then with the pastry brush, just liberally glaze each of the dough balls with the melted butter. Make sure you evenly coat the dough balls, and with the brush just make sure the butter goes in between so that they're all evenly glazed when they are finished cooking. The butter will just give a nice colourful shiny glaze when the dough balls have finished cooking. So again, with oven gloves, very carefully place those into the oven for about another 5 to 10 minutes until they are finished cooking and are golden brown. So after a further 5 minutes cooking, I've taken these out of the oven. The dough balls are nicely golden, evenly brown, nicely risen, and I was going to leave those to cool